Peasant Productions presents the math of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. Discussing the idea of the International Space Station and what I have to offer for phase 2. Like I said, I've got entire biosphere type stuff locked away in the back of my head that's quite simple and quite understanding, quite efficient, nowhere near the foolishness of trying to import everything. The United States is an importing nation. When all the countries that it gets its products from have problems, costs go up. People scream and holler, and suddenly the United States military is trying to shut governments down to get it prices back down, or whatever. But it happens, okay? Reality. Being an importer for all of your needs is extremely illogical. The Mars trip that everybody keeps talking about, they're going to go settle Mars first. Okay, let's see, you're talking about 2 years to get there and back. You're talking about having no supplies there, no data really of anything about what's there. And you're going to use the most archaic system you have, which means everything you're going to take there, you're building down here on planet Earth, and then you're going to go take it over there. Okay, fundamentally illogical. I mean, that's as bad as any nation, like I just pointed out. If you import everything that you need to subsist on, you have nothing. When all of a sudden you're exporting nations to you to import have problems. They need their food, they're going to stop sending you food. They need their water, they're going to stop sending you water. Going out and snagging a chunk of ice out there is quite easy to do, actually. The fact that it will provide fuel for your jet system so that you can scoot around the entire solar system. I mean, face it, with a 1 gravity drive, I believe the time ratio is somewhere around, to get out to Pluto, which is technically the farthest out planet that we really knew, which is now awash in all kinds of controversy. I don't quite want to go there. I believe, if I recall, it was to get all the way out to Pluto with a 1 gravity drive was like maximum at 9 months. Okay? Yeah. What now takes the United States NASA to get a satellite out there to Pluto is, I think, somewhere around 5 to 6 years. It's cut down to less than a year. That makes sense. Suddenly you can move supplies around. You can do things. If you are building stuff up there, if you have your manufacturing system up there, not down here where every single piece of trying to think of a small enough size here that actually makes some kind of sense. I mean, if every pound you have to move off of this planet costs you $100,000, because it's about $50 million to launch a rocket that carries, I think, somewhere in the 1,000 to 2,000 pound payload. You're definitely paying a heck of a premium for something that shouldn't be done in the first place. The government wants control, so they want you to think that the manufacturing has to be done down here on the planet. You get up there in space, You can do anything you want. It doesn't matter. You build. You're out in space. The United States government doesn't own space. It doesn't own the moon. I don't care how many flags they planted on it. The flag is nothing but a piece of cloth, and there is nobody living on the moon, so they have no claim to it. It's not owned by the Russians or the Chinese or the Japanese or anybody else, for that matter. Okay? Humans like to run around and say, oh, we own everything. We own our gods, even. No, you don't own anything. You own your body, and that's about it. But you get up there in space, and the government loses control. So the government doesn't want somebody like me that'll put a manufacturing system up there. They don't want somebody like me that, basically you take your Death Star and convert it from being a weapon of mass destruction to a biosphere living place for a few million people, and suddenly it makes a whole lot of sense to build those things. Your entire ecosystem is destroyed if the Battlestar, or whatever it was, Death Star, I guess the Death Star, Battlestar Galactica, I guess it was Battlestar Galactica was the other name I'm thinking of there. But the Death Star from Star Wars, that big, unfinished war wagon. If you took something that big and the entire outer surface of it was, plant life, vegetable gardens, gardens for walking and sitting and relaxing in, places where birds can fly and clean air and all kinds of weird stuff like that. Exactly how much food could you be producing? Oops. Yeah, a lot. A ring space station, on the other hand, offers a lot less room, offers a lot less facilities, offers a lot less usable space for the amount of space it takes up, but it's still a totally viable system. Okay? The sphere is quite simple. You build from the outside in, and as I laughingly thought about it, because of the way the systems work and all, you'll have centrifugal force on the outside keeping your feet to the ground, because you're going to stand on what would be the ceiling on a planet. You're going to stand on the outside wall. You're going to cover the outside with plant life. That's your food. That's your air. That's your waste reclamation system. Let's see, environment, food, and energy. You've also got all kinds of room for solar panels, don't you? So you got food, you got air, you got waste reclamation, you got energy, environment, food, and that. The only thing you're missing is culture. Oh hell, that's not a problem, is it? Any place that a human being goes, he's bound to take some part of his past with him. The planetoid type satellite you're building in. Okay, well, if it's a mile in diameter, mile in circumference, that's pretty huge, especially when you consider that the average skyscraper uses about 12 to 15 feet per floor. So if you got 5,000 feet of space inside of something, you obviously can build an awful lot of room in there. As you get into the more center sections, while you are bringing your power in from the outside, no problem, consider what would be available to you as you enter a lower and lower gravity field, because you're in the center of a planetoid. It doesn't have a mass gravity, it has centrifugal gravity. Okay? Suddenly you have a great place for operating. Take all the stress and strain off of body, put it in its lowest level. You walk in there and do a heart transplant or a bypass or an appendectomy or fix a guy's busted leg. His whole body is under less strain because if not all the way to zero gravity, you're at half a gravity. He said there are less problems, less strain. A burn victim, put them all the way in the zero gravity. They don't have to come in contact with a lot of stuff, which a person with 90% skin burn, have most of their body burned. They don't want you to touch them, and they sure as heck don't want to be touched. But you can sure put them in a sterile room and let them float around in space and sleep in a hammock and all the kinds of things that would definitely make their life a lot simpler and better. So you see, there's an awful lot of benefit to getting up into space and learning how to use that. Because the first thing you do is you start learning how to work with what is required for living. Yeah. You start realizing why every astronaut that has ever gone up has come back changed. And they all say the same thing. I don't see any line between Mexico and America, or Canada and America, or between Germany and France or Dutch or whoever and wherever. All those little country lines are imaginary things of imaginary people, now long since dead, who wanted domination and control of as much as they possibly could. Space is anti-dictatorship. You don't like it, move on. You really don't like the guy and he's on your ship, space a sucker. Tweet! I'd love to see Donald Trump holler in empty space. I'd love to see him try and tweet in absolute zero. His fingers would be working so fast to stay warm, huh? So you see the difference between illogically telling people to shut up and don't listen, don't look, don't think about it, don't question the government because the government's 100% pure and powerfully proper. Don't question the church because the church is greater than its God and the church will spike you. Or do something like that. Yeah. You support the actual thing you're trying to say that you don't support. When you're as old as I am and you've read as many conspiracy theories, and unfortunately you read the conspiracy theories that are coming out of CIA, FBI, working together, creating the illusion that somebody's an evil or bad person, using the mass media, the buying up of every newspaper, magazine, television station, cable station, into 4 multinational corporations in the United States. And those 4 corporations sit down together and they discuss what they're going to allow because they are the 0.001% elite that run those 4 corporations. And now do you understand why Donald Trump is in there making his big mouth run like it is? Because even if he gets shot and killed, which I'm kind of expecting at this point there to be a false flag on, he won't actually be killed, but there will be the illusion that he was shot and killed so that this Mike Pence guy, who is a whole heck of a lot worse than him, can step up and take power. And you will also have the right to immediately declare martial law, claim all weapons by all citizens and non-citizens within the borders, and only the military and only the police who have been militarized since basically the early 70s and end of the 60s, against the peace stuff. They started the drug war and they started militarizing all the police. Really quite pitiful. Quite pitiful. So that's why I say you need to get out there in space, folks, because your planet's dying, and you need to stop listening to a government that wants to let you die because it thinks it's going to dig a hole in the ground and hide for 100 million years. Yeah.